Lamb. Today, we're doing lamb. This is a leg of lamb. Next time you have a little get together with a few of your friends, roast a leg of lamb. Why choose lamb over a beef brisket? It tastes better. It's just everything about it, the fat, the meat, the color of it. Lamb, if you want to do something fancy, do a leg of lamb over a beef brisket, over a roasted chicken. Lamb is the way to go. So you can see it's got the bone in there and the fat on the backside. Now, the fat on the backside is so important, and if you don't score it, it's gonna shrink up. You're gonna waste a lot of flavor, and it's gonna stretch out the meat on the other side. So you're gonna see after we make our little marinade for it, we are going to score it nice and deep, and we're gonna shove that marinade that we're about to make in there, and we're gonna rest it overnight. It's gonna be beautiful. So a simple marinade here, and as you can see, I'm using a mortar and pestle because we're gonna smush this into a paste. Starting off with a ton of rosemary. Watch how I peel my garlic. I slice it, take a few cloves out, smush it on the cutting board, and what that does is two things. That makes it easier to peel the skin off, and it also smushes and breaks the cell walls inside the garlic itself, and that releases some sulfur, and that sulfur is, although it sounds bad, that's where that garlicky flavor comes from. So if you want a more fragrant and less spicy and more delicious garlic, smash those cell walls before you put it into a pan or a sauce or anything like that. Now, I want a nice pop of citrus, but if I put lemon juice directly on the meat, it's gonna chemically cook it, kind of like a ceviche. So instead, we're gonna zest a lemon and we're gonna throw that into our marinade. Give it a good smash. Now, it doesn't need to be a perfectly fine paste or anything like that. Just make sure there's no sticks from the rosemary because this is going directly onto our lamb. You see, we're scoring it. We're doing a double score, getting right all the way through the meat, about 1/4 inch deep here. So in those score lines, we're gonna put our marinade paste in there, and we're gonna just gently wrap some saran wrap. We're gonna tuck this roast in because we're going to let this sleep. We're gonna let all those flavors just get to know each other and sleep for 24 hours. Good night, roast. We'll come back to you tomorrow. Next day. Is the shot the same? Is this here? This way. Continuity matters. We're cooking the roast today. It's had 24 hours to rest. I'm greasing up a Dutch oven. If you don't know what a Dutch oven is, look in my description to my Amazon affiliate link. While you're there, make sure you buy one because they're like 150 bucks and I get partial commission for it. They also cook a roast the best. So if you don't have one, definitely consider purchasing one down the line. Okay, and we're just gonna kind of line this, grease it all up with a little bit of olive oil. We're gonna cook this twice. We're gonna get the outside texture that we want, and then we're gonna get the internal temperature that we want. So the first time we're gonna cook, we're gonna go skin side up, and we're gonna go at a higher temperature. This is just going in the oven, 350 for about 15 minutes. You're gonna see the outside get brown, and it's starting to get a little bit of texture, and that's what we want. So in the oven, 15 minutes, outside of the roast is gonna get a little bit of texture, and then we'll bring it back out. But in the meantime, we're gonna start making our sauce because our sauce only takes about 10 minutes to make, so perfect timing here. And the sauce that I'm choosing for this, because it's winter time, I'm doing a persimmon cranberry sauce. It's also gonna go very well with that rosemary, gonna kind of get some nice Thanksgiving vibes going on with this sauce. And this sauce is technically a wine reduction because we're putting like 1/4 of a bottle into this sauce. We're gonna put this on like a medium-high heat, get those cranberries going, kind of blistering those cranberries a little bit. Now persimmon, they're in season right now. If you haven't seen one or had one before, it's kind of like a mix between like an apple and man, it's a hard flavor to describe. It's kind of like a pear almost. And we're not actually gonna be eating these persimmons. We're just gonna be donating some of the flavor in the sauce because persimmons are pretty high in sugar. So we're just gonna chop these up, skin on, take the core out, throw it away, throw it in here, and we're gonna be taking them out at the end. So as soon as you start seeing steam come up from the pan, it's time to deglaze and reduce our wine in there. So we are throwing in about a 1/4 bottle of wine here. So the wine's gonna donate a lot of flavor. It's kind of important that you choose the right one. I'm going with the Beaujolais. A Beaujolais has a lot of like jammy strawberry flavors to it. If you can't get your hands on a bottle of Beaujolais, then go with a Pinot Noir, which is also another very light-bodied wine, or a Merlot. Now, if you need more information on the type of wine to choose, just comment down below. I'll answer your question, no problem. Now, optional here, I'm going with a sweeter sauce. Again, because it's around the holiday season, this is a Christmas dinner, so I'm gonna go with a sweet sauce. Swerve, if you didn't know, they also make a brown sugar replacement. This stuff looks, tastes, and has a texture of brown sugar. It's really cool, I recommend it. I'll put a link in the description as well. Throw in whatever you feel is right here. I went with like a third cup. No, I went with a quarter cup. Maybe a little bit less than a quarter cup. I kind of eyeballed it, honestly. So I got about 3 or 4 minutes left on the roast in the oven, but the sauce is getting a little bit too thick, so I'm gonna add a couple teaspoons, couple ounces of water, and that's gonna loosen up the sauce a little bit and make it easier to press through our sieve. Okay, feeling pretty good about that texture, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. So even though the persimmons, I can't really smash them yet, they're full of sugar, so I'm gonna kind of just let them stay a little bit firm in there, and I'm gonna press through all the cranberries. Even though the persimmons aren't gonna make it into the sauce, they've already donated some of that awesome flavor. Yeah, really press the crap out of this sieve because there's a lot of sauce to get out of this. Now we press it through the sieve, that gives it an awesome texture. It gives it kind of like a ketchup texture, which is really good for mouthfeel in a sauce. And you're gonna do that just with a spatula or whatever and just really crank on it and then scrape the outside of the sieve, and that's gonna give you that nice, luxurious texture. Toss it in a bowl, put it in a ramekin, put it right in the middle of your serving plate, and just let people put a spoon in there and let people dabble a little bit onto their plate. They'll be thanking you. Okay, so the roast just came out of the oven. Out of curiosity, I poked it with a temperature thermometer probe thingy, and the internal temperature is 80 degrees, meaning it's raw. And the outside is cooked to the temperature and the texture that we want. So now we're gonna lower the temperature in the oven a little bit. We're also gonna raise the roast up on a bed of onions. The onions are gonna allow convection underneath of there so that the bottom doesn't overcook, touching the roast. And it's also gonna add some steam and give it like a high humidity atmosphere inside that oven. And that's gonna help a lot too. We're also adding in some rosemary to kind of flavor that little steam convection that we're creating inside that oven. And it's gonna just create a beautiful, beautiful environment for this to cook low and slow and finish. Pretty much, I can't give you a final time for how long this is gonna take. Pretty much just let it sit for an hour, open up the oven, quickly take a quick temperature reading. If it hits 130, 132, 133, take it out and we're gonna let it rest. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna have some, what we call in the chef world, carryover cooking, and the hot temperature from the outside is gonna migrate slowly to the inside and it's gonna cook through and it's gonna be perfectly safe to eat. So once it hits 130, 132, take it out of the oven. And another important thing here is, guys, don't rest it inside of the vessel that you cooked it on. That's gonna lead to the outside being overcooked and it's gonna be dry. So take it out, very important, rest it on a cold cutting board, or in this case, a wire rack. I recommend the wire rack because it's gonna let air get around it and it's gonna cool at the same rate all the way around the roast. If you cut into it at this point, all of the juices are gonna bleed out on your cutting board and you're gonna be left with a dry roast. So I let mine rest for 10 minutes. Some chefs go even longer than that. It's very important though, before you cut into it and serve it, to let it rest. You'll thank me. So serve this in nice thick slices, get rid of that bone, maybe save it for a stock or something like that. Amazing. I hope you invest the time and the money into making this beautiful lamb roast. It's gonna impress your friends, it's gonna impress your family. If you're making this for yourself, you're gonna be impressing yourself with how good this turns out. Now share this video. I know you know somebody that would love to watch this video that you just watched right now. I love you. Thank you. If you haven't yet, subscribe. And this is your Chef Rob. I'm signing off. Stay healthy, guys. Peace.